Batman, Tyger. Gotham City, New Jersey, 2020. 2019 was a very turbulent year for Batman, with the Arkham Asylum riots in March, and Quincy Sharp taking credit for stopping the riots, which led him to become the mayor of Gotham City by a landslide in the special elections. And as the year marched on, Quincy Sharp lived up to his campaign promise. He decided to turn Tricorner Island, the smallest and southernmost of the Gotham City islands, into an open-air supermax prison. He was able to convince the city council to back him up on the plan, and they forcibly removed all the residences and all the businesses from the island. And to top it all off, Sharp decided to hire a private security firm by the name of Tyger Enterprises. Tyger Enterprises was very mysterious. They virtually popped up overnight, even though they claimed to have been in operation since the 1950s. But as anyone could easily figure out, there was no records of them dating back that far. And to top it all off, Arkham Asylum was now going to be their base of operation. Quincy Sharp had the asylum quickly repaired and turned into the Tyger headquarters, since Arkham Island is just across the way from Tricorner Island, which will make it easier for them, as they are now going to be the security force to patrol and keep order of Arkham City, which was the name given to the new super prison. Now, mid-January, as Commissioner Gordon was coming into his office in the morning. Then the commissioner enters his office. And to the commissioner's surprise, he sees waiting in his office none other than Mayor Sharp. And he says, "Oh, good morning, Mayor. What do I owe the pleasure, sir?" Then Sharp says, "Well, Commissioner Gordon, I thought I'd give you the good news in person this morning." Well, Gordon knew what Sharp considered good news was going to be bad news for him. And then Sharp dropped a bomb on the commissioner. And he says, "Well, Jim, as you already know, that Tyger is going to be solely responsible for the security of Arkham City." And he further explains to the commissioner, "But I was able to negotiate with the police union and the city council before the holiday break to expand Tyger's operations." Then Gordon says, What do you mean, expand Tyger operations?" Sharp says to the commissioner, "I mean, they're going to assist the Gotham City police in apprehending criminals." Then Gordon gets angry and he says, "No, Your Honor, no! My police are capable of doing their jobs. They don't need help from a security firm." Then Sharp says, "Really, Commissioner? Then why do you allow the Batman to do his vigilante activity?" Then the commissioner turns around and looks Sharp dead in the eye and he says, "Your Honor, what I do with Batman is my personal business." Then Sharp says to the commissioner, "Well, it's my business too, Gordon. You've let a vigilante run around for 21 years, operating above the law." "I'll admit," says Sharp, "Batman was needed years ago when the police department was corrupt. But now that the police department is cleaned up, we don't need the Batman anymore," he says to the commissioner. "In fact, I'm giving shoot-to-kill orders to Tyger to get rid of Batman." Commissioner Gordon knew good and well he couldn't do nothing. Then he asked the mayor, "So, Your Honor, when does this new policy take effect?" Then Sharp said to the commissioner, "Why, February 1st. And then he goes on to say, "That's when I'll also make the announcement of this on TV. I also will introduce the new warden that day also." Then the commissioner said, "Okay." Then Sharp says, "Oh, before I leave, I must tell you, Commissioner, those vacant offices in the east wing of the police station will now be a sub-office for the Tyger operatives, said the mayor. And then he reaches in for his coat and pulls out a file folder, and he says, right here, Commissioner, is the new rules and practices when it comes to apprehending criminals and how to give them over to the Tyger operatives, he says. And then he leaves the commissioner's office and says to the commissioner, "Good day, Commissioner." After the mayor leaves, Gordon looks through the file folder and quickly looks over what the new rules were. Then he slams the folder shut and he says, "God damn it!" And then he goes over to his intercom and calls for an emergency meeting. Well, as the night fell, the commissioner lit the bat signal. Batman, of course, came, and he warned Batman what the mayor has planned for him. The Batman acknowledges it and told the commissioner that he knew that he was a prime target for the mayor and whoever was going to run the new super prison. But the Batman assured the commissioner that he was not going to let the Tigers take him down. Saturday, February 1st, and everybody in Gotham City was tuned in onto the news to see the mayor's speech on what was going on and the reveal of the new warden of Arkham City. Well, the mayor gave his standard speech, told the public what was new, what was going to go on with Tyger, and what was going to go on with Arkham City. Then the mayor goes on to introduce the new warden, and he says, "Ladies and gentlemen of the public, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the one man that shares my vision and the one man that I know is capable of doing this great task. I introduce to you all Dr. Hugo Strange." Meanwhile, in Wayne Manor, Bruce Wayne was sitting down watching TV, waiting for the announcement, and as he saw the announcement and saw who was the new warden, his eyes opened wide and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. Hugo Strange was one of Batman's deadliest enemies, and the only of Batman's enemies that knew Batman's true identity as Bruce Wayne. He knew this was going to be serious trouble. Alfred had just come in that moment, and he says to Bruce, "Master Bruce, did they make the announcement on who's the new warden?" Then when Alfred saw the TV, he said, "Oh my, sir, that's not good at all." Bruce says, "You got that right, Alfred, that is not good. He is too dangerous. He has to be behind the whole thing," says Bruce to Alfred. And then Bruce says, "You know what, Alfred? I'm starting to think now. Maybe he was behind the whole Arkham riot. This seems like his handiwork." "Of course," says Bruce. "That has to be." Alfred says, "You're right, Master Bruce. The Arkham riot has Dr. Strange written all over it." Then Bruce's cell phone goes off. He looks at it. It was Kathy Kane. He answers it and he says, "Yeah, Kathy." Kathy then says to Bruce, "Bruce, did you see the news?" Bruce says to Kathy, "Of course I did. This is not good at all. This is going to be a serious challenge for us." Then Bruce asks Kathy, "Kathy, are you at the clock tower?" She says to Bruce, "Yes, I just got done doing a massive update to the computers." Then Bruce says, "Excellent, I'm going out. I'm going to pay a visit to City Hall tonight," he says to her. That night, 12:30 a.m., in City Hall, the Batman lands on the roof, and he breaks into City Hall, and he makes his way right into the mayor's office. And Batman begins to search the mayor's office for anything important on Hugo Strange, Arkham City, or Tyger. Well, he goes through the mayor's desk and he finds a file folder labeled Batman. Batman pulls out the file folder and sifts through it, and the file folder contained pictures of the Batmobile, pictures of Batman running through the rooftops, and an extensive dossier on Batman. Batman quickly reads through them and gets on the communicator and says to Oracle,
"Oracle, it seems like the mayor has a huge dossier on me. He's really obsessed with me. Or is he?"
Then Batman searches around some more in the mayor's office. He uncovers a hidden safe behind a portrait of Mayor Sharp. The safe had a digital keypad, so Batman had to break out his cryptographic sequencer to unlock it. Then Batman puts away the cryptographic sequencer and slowly opens the safe when all of a sudden it triggered an alarm. Oracle chimes in over the communicator. Batman, get out of there now! The Tyger guards are on their way! Batman quickly leaves the office and makes his way to the roof. As soon as he got on the roof, suddenly he was ambushed by the Tyger guards. Batman fights back. But the Tyger guards were well trained in hand-to-hand combat. Despite Batman's years of training and fighting, he was no match for them. One of them even kicked Batman right off the roof. The guards looked at each other and looked down below, and they couldn't see Batman. One of the guards says, "Remember what Dr. Strange says. The target is very resilient and a strong survivor. Let's go down to find him." Then the Tyger guards ran down to get him, while their leader quickly gets on the radio to radio his actions to the dispatch. Well, Batman had made his way to a small mom-and-pop electronics store. He was hiding out in there, and it didn't take very long for the Tyger guards to quickly track him down in there. Now they were armed with rifles, as he could see in his detective vision. And the squad leader says, "Okay, the Batman's in here somewhere. Fan out. And remember, shoot to kill orders from on top." The other members of the guard said, "Yes, sir." As they fan out, Batman knew he had to get out, and he also had to take them down. They were extremely dangerous. But Batman already planned for an escape. He had already taken out his gel foam explosives and sprayed a very big swath of it around an area where the gas pipe was. Batman had to sneak out undetected, and he did. As soon as Batman was outside, he hated to do this to a mom-and-pop store, but he had to, and he detonates the gel foam explosives. Batman then pulls out his PDA and calls his Batmobile over to him. As the vehicle pulls up, the canopy opens, Batman jumps in, takes it off auto, closes the canopy, and speeds off. As Batman was driving his Batmobile, he passes by one street. In that one street, massive headlights turn on, and a massive truck that's owned by Tyger comes out. It was a huge, what looked like a combat rig. It was heavily armored, massive, and it had a powerful diesel V8 that was both twin turbocharged and supercharged. In the truck, there were two Tyger operatives, the driver and the passenger that was the weapons operator. And the driver says on the radio, "Come in, Central, come in. We have found the Batman, his Batmobile, and we're preparing to engage him." Then the driver floors it. Batman sees on the rear view camera that the truck was coming in fast. The truck was very fast, but despite what the truck can do, the Batmobile still had a small advantage. It was smaller and lighter, so it was able to outrun it just by a hair. They were only just a few feet apart. Batman couldn't outrun it anymore, so he knew he needed a little more power and he needed to engage in some quick sinking, so he activates the nitrous system to quickly lose it. For a moment, the Drivers lost the Batmobile. The driver even says, "Come in, Central, come in. We have lost the target." Repeat, "We have lost the target." But then, after a minute or two, the Batmobile pulls up right in front of them and engages in another high-speed chase with them chasing them. The driver says, "Come in, Central, come in. We have acquired the target and we are engaging in pursuit." The driver says to the gunner, "All right, let's do it." The gunner activates the weapon system and begins to fire at the Batmobile. Luckily, the Batmobile's armor could withstand that round. Plus, the Batmobile was being driven by remote. It was being driven by Oracle from her clock tower. Batman was not even inside. Suddenly, Batman glides right on top of the battle rig and puts on the roof some sort of homing beacon and jumps off. The homing beacon was for the Batjet. The Batjet was also activated by Oracle as it started up and flies right to its destination with the one command, attack. The Batjet had the weapons that could easily take down the battle rig. As the Batjet was flying high speed, it locked onto its target, the combat rig, and it began to fire a barrage of missiles. The missiles all hit the combat rig, and there was a good explosion, but the combat rig was still standing thanks to the thick armor, but it was badly damaged, and the driver and passenger were killed. The rig just slowly rolls off the road, going through a guardrail and into the waters of the harbor, sinking. Then the Batjet turns around and heads back to the cave. Batman was standing on the sidewalk, and he says to Oracle,
Oracle, bring the Batmobile back around. Let's just say my two pursuers are gone for good.
Oracle says, "Hokey dokey, Batman," and she brings the Batmobile back around. Batman gets inside and drives off. As he was driving off, a Tyger helicopter flies overhead, surveying the site. The pilot says, "Central, come in. Central, come in. Tyger Rig 6 is down. Repeat, Tyger Rig 6 is down. Send a diving team to retrieve the bodies of O'Keefe and Harold's." Repeat, send a diving team to retrieve the bodies of O'Keefe and Harold's. Over. As the helicopter was hovering overhead, the cameras were recording everything, and from his office, another person was watching what the Tyger helicopter was watching. It was none other than Hugo Strange, Batman's deadliest arch nemesis. He looks at the screen and he says aloud to himself, "So, Mr. Wayne, it is going to be a very big battle to take down you and your alter ego, but I look forward to the challenge," said to himself Strange. The next morning, at the former Arkham Asylum, now the Tyger headquarters, in Strange's office, Hugo Strange was sitting at his desk reading a file folder when the intercom buzzes and the secretary says, "Professor Strange, your 9 o'clock is here to see you, sir." Strange says on the intercom, "Send him in." Then a young man comes walking in. Strange gets up, shakes the young man's hand, and tells the young man to sit down. It was a job interview, and the young man was applying to join Tyger. Hugo Strange says to the man, "Well, Mr. Hollenbeck, I was just reading your files. You are the best of the best in your unit." And he goes on to say to the young man, "And I see you had just been recently honorably discharged from the Army Rangers after 10 years of service." And he looks at the computer screen and says to the young man, "And according to this, Mr. Hollenbeck, you just passed your physical." So he says to the young man, "Well, Mr. Hollenbeck, we here at Tyger take our job very seriously. We are the best security firm there is, and now we have just landed the biggest contract, patrolling Arkham City, the new super prison that's opening up, and we are also assisting the Gotham City Police Department in peacekeeping on the streets and apprehension of criminals," he says to the young former ranger. And he says to the man, "All right, Mr. Hollenbeck, we have one more test for you to take. This is a psychological test. And the first thing we're going to do is take you to this room right over there," said Hugo Strange, pointing to the left. Hollenbeck looks also, and there was just a door over there that was closed. The two men get up, and Hugo Strange reaches for a briefcase on the table by the door. He says, "Give me a moment. I need to just unlock this door." Then he opens the briefcase and pulls out a syringe gun and quickly injects Hollenbeck with it in his jugular. Hollenbeck had really no time to react. Suddenly, Hollenbeck felt strange and weird. Then Hugo Strange opens the door and guides Hollenbeck in there, and he says to Hollenbeck, "Now, young man, go, walk, look at your targets," he says. It was almost like LSD. The hallway that Hollenbeck was walking down was moving and swaying, and he could hear voices, the voices of Hugo Strange echoing in his ears, telling him, feeding him information on targets. "I am Professor Hugo Strange, and you will always serve me, and you will always follow my orders implicitly and blindly. These are your targets," as images have showed up of civilians and other famous figures. And he says, "You will always execute orders that I give, faithfully, blindly. And this is the big target right here." Then an image of Batman starts showing up in all the pictures, and Strange's voice says, "This is the main target. This is Batman. You hate Batman. You must terminate Batman with extreme prejudice. Every time you see Batman, you must eradicate him. Kill the Batman. Kill the Batman. You hate the Batman." Then the young man Hollenbeck says, "Yes, I hate the Batman. I want the Batman dead. Kill the Batman. Kill the Batman," he says. Suddenly, it was over. Hollenbeck was dizzy, and Hugo Strange comes into the room and guides him out. He sits Hollenbeck back down in the seat in front of his desk, and Hugo Strange sits down back in his desk, and he says, "Mr. Hollenbeck, how are you feeling?" Then Hollenbeck raises his head, feeling normal again, and he says, "I'm feeling fine, Professor Strange, sir." Then Hugo Strange says, "Excellent," and he shakes his hands and he says, "Mr. Hollenbeck, welcome aboard. Go downstairs to room 4C, and you will be fitted for your uniform, and you'll meet the duty sergeant, and you'll meet Major Rhodes. He will tell you what to do next." Then Hollenbeck gives Professor Strange a salute, and Professor Strange salutes him back, and Hollenbeck leaves the office. Hugo Strange sits back down at his desk and lets out a smile, and he says aloud to himself, "It's coming along all nicely." Like and subscribe. The end.